We're in the midst of the deadliest drug crisis in our history. Nearly 1 in 4 high school students reported using marijuana in the past 30 days. There were nearly 2,000 deaths from a drug overdose in 2016, and experts say that number is on the rise. At St. Matthew Catholic Church, we're trying to remove the stigma of talking about drug abuse by providing insight into this growing problem that impacts every one of us. What you're about to hear is the true story of Elizabeth Schilling. Her parents, Jim and Chris Schilling, are parishioners here and were courageous enough to share their experience and the unfortunate tragic consequences.
She just was very funny and generous with her friendship.
High-spirited, very full of life.
You knew when she was happy and you knew when she wasn't. She was very empathetic. I mean, we could definitely see when things started to take a turn. It was when she was in middle school. Just started to see some, acting out behavior. I mean, we realized she had an eating disorder. So we were very conscious of watching everything that had to do with that, what she was eating, what she wasn't eating, her exercise. We got her into see all the professionals.
As she was going into high school, she had this was a warning sign that we didn't see. We got a call, she's going to the emergency room, she had a seizure. It turns out she took some, illegal drugs that, in high doses can cause a seizure. And then she had one another.
A year later.
And it was the same thing, but we didn't know that it was this. She only told us years later that it was drugs.
As soon as we tackled that, plugged that hole, another thing open.
Follow your gut, because looking back at it, every time it was like a bad smell, so to speak, I'd get this gut reaction that something was off. And of course, yeah, there was something off, but then over time I'd sort of erase that away. You need to go with your gut, because when I think with my head, I had a tendency to just sort of explain it away.
I think she's used everything. At the end, it was heroin.
Yeah, 17 and a half or
that
18 is when that became her drug of choice. I think the thing is that she tried to recapture that first high and just tried to eliminate feeling altogether. Some of the things that had happened to her were absolutely horrific, especially, when she was on heroin. And so she'd use more heroin to just sort of forget those things.
Once I knew she was using heroin, I knew that was a hard drug to abstain from. And I knew where her head was, and I was really planning her funeral in my brain for years. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. And I didn't want to say it out loud because, we're supposed to have hope as long as, as long as they're here, we need to have hope. And I was losing hope. I was preparing for it.
Because there's days, especially at the beginning, you do have expectations. You expect them to go to college, you expect them to get married, all these. And one of the things that they in the family program in Al-Anon is to drop your expectations. Just looking at it as one day sober, one day clean isn't awesome. One day of life. It was a Saturday, September 23rd, around 10 after 8. I actually got a call from the halfway house that she had left 2 weeks before. They asked me if I would sit down, and so I did, and they said, "Sorry to tell you, but Elizabeth died around 10:30 this morning."
It's the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning, and it's in the front of my brain all the time. Sometimes it's just overwhelming.
In one way, getting the call, I was relieved that we wouldn't have to wait for another call. Because it's the one thing, my phone, I always have it so the ringer's on high, so at night I could get a call. And also I know I was sort of relieved because she was no longer in pain, and she wasn't gonna have to try to, do anything and everything to get that high. Love your children unconditionally, no matter what their decisions are, no matter what their behavior is. It doesn't mean that you condone it, that you support that, but that's the one thing that all of Elizabeth's friends have told us over and over is just how much she loved us, and she knew how much we loved her, because we always provided her emotional support. That night when we found out Elizabeth was dead is that we owe it to Elizabeth to live the life that she can't live now, and to give her a voice, that people that will touch somebody and will be able to change the course, whether it's a parent or a child, and will prevent this one time.
Elizabeth's death followed a battle with drug abuse for many years. We appreciate Jim and Chris's openness and honesty, and we wish them peace as they cope with their loss of Elizabeth. In the second part of our series, we talk with another family about the loss of their only son, what they have learned, and what's being done to help educate others about this growing drug epidemic.